Okay, we are live. Madam Vice Chair, the meeting is yours. Let me know if there's anything I can do.
Thanks, Rob. Let's call the special meeting of the Planning Commission to order. It's Thursday, June 10. Please take the roll and state where you are.
Okay, Rishka,
I'm here in Milford.
Kashkarian,
Here in Milford.
Nazara,
Here in Milford.
Davis,
Here, Milford.
DeVry,
Here in Milford.
Latka, absent, Mallon,
Here, Milford.
and Gilo.
Mark, you're muted.
Here in Milford. Sorry about that.
That's okay, thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, next is approval of the agenda, and just a teeny tiny little switch. We're going to do the sign ordinance and then the confirmed plan of ordinance amendments. So can I get a motion, please?
So move.
Second?
Seconded.
Okay. Are you okay, Wendy?
I heard Bill and was it Bill and Vaughn both moving?
Support.
Okay, so I'm gonna take Vaughn as made the motion. Bill, you did the support backup.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, public comment. Rob, we still have no public on the line, I assume?
Can we do a
Oh,
vote
I'm
on that?
sorry.
That's
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Okay, all in favor of changing that, the agenda? Say aye.
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 Okay, thanks. Now, no public still, Rob?
No members of the public in the meeting at this point.
Okay, thank you. Then the next will be our ordinance discussions, and first we're gonna do the signed ordinance text amendments. So, who would like to? Shri, Jennifer, who wants to talk about that first?
How about if I start?
Okay.
So I'm not sure if my email got included in the packet that kind of explained the history of everything and what happened and,
It did.
okay.
At
Why?
least in mine, it did.
Okay, good. So we're looking at this again because before it actually had gone to the board, it needed to be modified for this Reed case, which came out in 2015. The U.S. Supreme Court stated that you can no longer regulate the content of a sign. And
Right.
it's a test where if you have to read, the bare bones of the test of it is if you have to read the sign to understand what kind of sign it is, that is not a content neutral regulation.
Okay.
So in order to understand that it's a commercial sign, you have to read that to see that it's a commercial sign. So not that you can't regulate commercial signs in certain ways, you have to treat all signs uniformly, whether they're temporary, permanent. So you can still regulate the size, you can still regulate what districts they can be located in, the setbacks, but you can't say signs are better than other signs or preferred than other signs. You have to treat all your signs universally. So what I had done back then was it was just easier, and we were doing this for all of our communities, is just cut and paste your entire sign ordinance and go through every single section and mark where you needed to change to be content neutral. So in the memo that you were provided, hopefully it was color, but the yellow was the revisions, or there are strike throughs, and then the green kind of explained why those changes were needed to be made. So I think that the purpose of putting this in front of you again was so that, because you now have new planning consultants on board and they may have fresh eyes with the planning perspective of it, that's only the legal changes. Now there may be, looking at your sign ordinance, some changes from a planning perspective that Shri would like to add. And that's great. I mean, I think you should do that all at one time, but to have a constitutional sign ordinance, you'd need to make these modifications.
Okay, well, that's good. Can we, I don't know, does anyone want to say, can we just take this to the planner and have them now go forward in writing the ordinance the way it should be written? And Shri, can you do it in the clear zoning format so that that can just be done now? Like you can format it in that way instead of the way that it's currently written? Does that make sense?
It does. I think that would probably be doable for the sign ordinance amendment because it's just
Right.
one section. But it's probably might get complicated if you want to do that for other amendments, because over there we are, amending multiple sections sometimes. For this one, because everything related to signs in one place, that's something we can look into it. But that could add to the timeline if we needed to format it in the clear zoning format to present it to Planning Commission.
Okay,
Can I have a question?
sure.
So Sri, in our current ordinance, the purpose of going to a clear zoning was to make them more user-friendly.
Yes.
And so you have the legal text that's been provided by Jennifer, but also in our ordinance, there's graphics and some other things in that ordinance that I would hope that putting it into a clear zoning format could be improved from the sketch that was probably done 20 years ago. So is that what you would take this and then develop those types of images?
Yes, those are the, so while doing the audit, I was able to review Jen's memo a little bit more detail. So for us to convert that into a draft language, a couple of items we thought we needed to do was defining different types of signs so that we're not calling them by gas sign or business sign, but defining monument, like based on the structure, monument sign or pole sign, directional signs, or something like that. So we will amend it, the section for the definitions, and then we will amend how each sign area is measured in different places. And then we need to define what signs require permits and what doesn't, what are exempt. And then take a look at the prohibited signs, redo the images so that they're more clearer, not the ones we have currently. And then address what Jen's comments are in the memo. But today I was wondering if we can go up. There are a couple of recommendations I was hoping to get from you when we're looking at permitted signs in different districts. They're not content neutral based revisions, but in general, would you like to see a smaller size sign or a different sign in that zoning district kind of comments? If you're opening it up, I just wanted to get a sense of if you have any thoughts about the size requirements for certain signs, not the type of sign. And then the clear zoning format, I think for the sign ordinance perspective, that's probably doable because it's all in one section. But it will just add a couple of weeks time to it before we can bring it back in the clear zoning format. But if you want to move this forward, maybe the first round of revision, we can just get you the language in Word format. And then by the time we get to the public hearing, we can probably get that in a clear zoning format.
Okay.
Just
Anyone?
to keep the the timeline moving.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments?
I just wonder, at what time are we going to have a discussion of what this all means to us? I mean, with the changes that we're suggesting, I think I understand
Today.
the issue of non-content, but in that you have to read the sign and so on and so forth. But where are we exposed on this, and what issues does it bring up for us to address in terms of what we've normally thought we wanted, in the township?
Well,
I mean, we've got real estate signs, for sale signs on houses. There's no control. I mean, obviously people put those out, until they sell their house. But other types of signs that go up? Are you gonna have to read it to find out if it's if it's a real estate sign or not? That's what I'm wondering. Are we just opening ourselves up on this, and maybe there's no choice but to just have a carte blanche on signs? And how do we put some kind of structure in it that it sort of makes sense, but at the same time is compliant with the judicial requirements?
So the real estate signs and all those, we will we'll categorize them as temporary sidewalk signs rather than calling them real estate signage, because it's like how it is being installed, how does it look where you install it, defines what type of sign it is.
Right, that it's temporary in nature, that it's located in the sidewalk. You can identify all of them like that. But when you say real estate sign, then the only way you know it's a real estate sign is if you're reading the text on the sign.
Well, except it normally says for sale, right, in bold letters.
Yeah. But you have to read. So anything you have to read, essentially, the US Supreme Court has said, if you're reading it to understand what it is, that's considered content.
I guess what I'm asking really, is this going to result in us accepting signs that we would have normally in the past not wanted to have? That's all. That's what I'm really asking in a nutshell.
So that's a discussion we can have today. Identify the things we don't want to have, then we can draft the language so that it's not based on content, but it's based on the type of signage. So that's what I'm trying to get from Planning Commission tonight.
I think she's trying to say, tell her what signs you don't like, and we'll get creative with how we name them.
So, but since we just went through the sign ordinance in 2019, which is not that long ago, I feel like we've already discussed all the signs and the sizes and all of that kind of stuff. So don't we already have you just have to change the legal, the stuff for the lawsuit or for the new Supreme Court thing. So don't we already have all that? Why do we need to go through it again when we did all that work on it just like 2 years ago?
Well, yeah, I guess my only question was, I agree, Julie, but all I'm asking is, does this new hooker on it result in us having to take some other action to accomplish what we agreed we wanted to in 2019, whatever it was we did? That's what I'm.
So I wasn't part of the discussion, so I would probably look for your input when the Planning Commission discussed in 2019, except for the content neutral. Have you guys, the draft that was put together by Wade Trim, does it address all the other comments you've discussed with regards to sizes or districts?
You feel that the recommendation that you had sent to the Township Board in December of 2019 addressed all of your ideas and thoughts and intentions that you had for signage?
Well, I mean, we went through and voted on it and sent it to the board. So why would we change it now?
Yeah.
What's changed?
Okay, then we're not
In my
changing.
mind, I only say one item that may result in a change. And what we have right now, and I agree with everybody, we just spent a lot of time doing this. It was supposed to go to the board back in December of 19. I don't know where it went, what happened at that point, but right after that, I think we sort of got into the pandemic. One of our signs that don't require a permit is insignias and banners. So at what point does a sign become an advertisement, and how much advertisement do we want to see on a site? I'm not really relating the content. What I'm saying is, by allowing the banner, the flag to have any kind of text on it without governing, it could be all advertising. So they could have their signage requirements for the building, they could have the signage requirements for the monument, but then there could be a whole nother form of advertising through banners. So
Banners and flags.
So have you seen that? I mean, yeah, and flags also.
So that was one of the item I meant to discuss tonight. So most communities usually just prohibit banners, period. And then when it comes to flagpoles, they have an ordinance, a section that specifically regulates flagpoles and flags, but it doesn't say if the flag is United States or governmental agencies. It just says a flag. And the way to creatively say that you cannot use a flag to advertise is you have a definition of sign that defines that kind of so it says that any flag less than a certain square footage doesn't require a sign permit, but if it exceeds that square footage, then it becomes a pole sign, and it will be regulated as a pole sign, so that we don't end up with, you know, bigger flags that are used for advertising or banners are used for advertising. So that's one addition I thought maybe we can add to Wade Trim's memo is have some standards to regulate flags and then prohibit banners.
That was the only issue that I sort of looked at when I read through the whole thing. It said this could be opening up more opportunity for more flags on a site. And I don't want to pick on any certain commercial aspect or institutional aspect, but when a institution announces that they're have just reached a certain category or rating and they start plastering it all over their buildings, that's advertising.
Yes, we've seen that issue with code enforcement always has issue regulating flagpoles because some communities don't say anything about flags, so it could be interpreted as there's nothing regulating them. So that is something we can add with this draft. But I do want to address one question the comment you made before regarding when the Planning Commission made a recommendation to the board in 2019, that ordinance wasn't audited based on content neutral comments. So that's the reason. So the one that was recommended to board addressed all the Planning Commission comments with regards to size and everything, but it's still not compliant with the content neutral that came after. So that's why Jen's memo is dated in 2020 after the recommended draft was reviewed by the attorney's office.
Right.
She
Right.
wasn't, so that's the exercise today. So I wasn't clear because I read through the minutes a little bit, but I wasn't part of the conversation. So I wasn't clear if you had any other comments beyond the content neutral. Looks like that's all been addressed in Wade Trim's draft. So I'll just focus on adding definitions and addressing Jen's comments, and then adding some standards for flagpoles and prohibiting banners and insignia.
Does any of this change, and I know I'm picking on certain elements, but does any of this change with respect to how political signs are treated or regulated?
Because
I mean, we had something that said they had to be gone in what it was, 10 days or something like that, right?
Can't do that anymore.
So that's exactly what I'm saying. I think we at least have to know those things that are going to change from what we talked about in 2019. And rather than find out afterwards that, oops, we can't, we can't have them taken down in 10 days. So I think that's important that we communicate those things to ourselves that so we understand it at least.
So political signs, if it's installed on a non-residential sign, then they could be either considered a temporary sign or a pole sign, depending on the size. So if a commercial site is having a political sign for a long time, then that means they're having more than one pole signs or more than one monument sign. When it comes to residential, political signs on residential lot, we can call it a temporary sign and regulate the size and number. Rather than calling it a political sign, we can say that residential properties can have a temporary sign that cannot exceed no longer than a certain square footage. And it should, if it is, and then we can talk about the type of installation and say that, if it's just a sidewalk sign, then there's a time limit to it. So this way we are not regulating the language, but we're regulating the size, the type, and then the time.
Right.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
It's
One
like
last- what
taking
if the
back
language-
door.
What if the language is crude or vulgar? There's nothing you can do about
We
that?
cannot do nothing about it. We
I
can
thought
only,
according to Jennifer,
Well,
she said that you can.
yeah. So
technically.
you don't have a constitutional right to be vulgar and offensive, and that would constitute most likely a violation of some other regulation,
public nuisance.
almost a crime or a public nuisance. So that's how you would, approach it. You don't
Well,
have,
some of our-
you
some
don't
of
have a
our-
right, you have a right to be,
Direct.
some obscenity is protected to a certain level, and so there's a test for that. If you saw big FU signs everywhere throughout your township, that's not protected. But sometimes some language regarding maybe like an adult store or something, that people might find offensive would be protected. There's a test for it, but if you've got signs that are clearly everyone in their right mind knows that's offensive and vulgar and inappropriate, you're probably committing a crime or it's a public nuisance of some kind.
So, yeah, that would. The other topic I wanted to get your input on, I don't know if I missed it, please correct me. The signage on vehicles. Sometimes, people have signage on. I know we don't have much commercial in Milford Township, so I'll defer this to Tim, but did you have any trouble enforcing signage on commercial contractor vehicles, or where businesses are just using a vehicle with signage parked on their parking lots? Has this,
Oh, we have that ordinance that says you can't bring it home and park it in front of your house, right? Commercial vehicle, right? I think
vehicle, a sign, a vehicle which has a sign on it? Like
Yeah.
Like the
contract-
traveling billboards? You mean like a traveling billboard?
either traveling billboards or, commercial delivery vehicles or fleet vehicles.
Well, like
Yeah.
there's a plumber's truck that oftentimes parks on GM Road in front of the house. And it's the name of the plumbing outfit that he either works for or owns, but is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
regulating the truck, not what's written on it.
Right.
The township allows you to park a commercial vehicle at your residence at a certain size, if you have a certain acreage and a certain zoning. So,
So maybe not a problem yet, so we don't have to worry about it now.
yeah, we have guys that bring their work pickup truck home, their construction outfit, that truck would be allowed everywhere.
Yeah,
As long as it's under 10,000 pounds.
Yeah,
yeah.
But there was a time in which there was a gentleman who owned a panel type truck on Milford Road who parked it on top of the berm in front of his house.
Yeah.
That's, to me, advertising.
Well, there was one on GM Road that I don't think it moved for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
But it's
So-
licensed.
Okay, I'll take a look at it and see if we can have like very simple language addressing that. Because,
Sri, part of the problem is we get a lot of contractors from outside the township that come in, let's say from Novi or Brighton, that are coming in to do work for residents. I mean, how would you control that?
no, not those. What I
No.
meant, like, if you have a contracting business in, in the town and they park all their trucks on the site. I'm not talking about the contractors who come and go. I'm talking
Okay.
about traveling billboards. Like if a restaurant wants to put out a sign, if they have,
So these has to be township resident businesses then,
right,
And
or
res-
business
and-
owners,
and owners. Okay.
right. But looks like it is not a problem yet, so.
One little thing, when we first started, we suggested go as quickly as we can to clear zoning, which I think makes sense. I'd like to get that done. But earlier, a number of months ago, we said there's gonna be no changes when we move to clear zoning. And here there would be. So I still say go ahead to clear zoning, just keep a very detailed list of what the changes are, because at some point we're going to say, these are the changes we made. You don't have to search for them. Here they are, both for us and for the board.
So yeah, when we do the clear zoning, when we complete the clear zoning draft, there will be a cheat sheet sort of will be provided, which gives the old section numbers and what's changed, and there's a memo and all. So we will provide those. I was just trying to pull the email where we talked about the schedule so that I can give you a good sense of how far we are. We made good progress. We're just doing the final quality check on the final draft. So hopefully we'll bring that to you guys soon.
Great.
A question in regards to what we're doing here tonight. Are we first going to go ahead with making the text changes based on Jennifer's letter and then come back and finalize? So the first thing is to make the text changes.
Yes.
And then after it gives you enough time to put it into the clear zoning, we'll put it into clear zoning.
If that's
without
okay
any-
with you.
Right.
Okay, because if I want to bring you the text changes in clear zoning format, that will just add, we would
Time.
require more time to get to it.
So can we go ahead and ask for you to make those changes that, based on Jennifer's letter, and also go for public hearing?
Sure, if you're comfortable with it.
I am. We've
Yeah.
talked about this
Okay.
quite a bit.
I'm sorry, I did have one question, if I could, about the temporary signs. I was hoping you could you clarify the temporary construction signs? That text has all been struck out in your memo. Does that mean that you can't have temporary construction signs, or just could you clarify that?
Well, so all temporary signs, so if you need to understand that if you need to figure out that it's a construction sign, you're gonna need to read it.
Right, I understand that.
So all temporary signs must be treated the same. So you can't say temporary construction sign because you're making a distinction of one type of temporary sign.
Yeah, so the temporary construction signs will now just be called temporary signs.
Right.
Okay.
So that could be real estate sign, that could be the political sign, could be construction sign.
And
Yes,
that's going through this, and Jennifer did a really good job. By the time I got done, I really was able to follow the logic on most of it. And it comes down to, we're going to define what signs are, everything. Everything that isn't defined and approved in site plans or allowed by ordinance for address signs and things like that, in fact, almost become temporary signs. Is what we're really trying to control, is the things that are not defined in our ordinances. In other words, we know what a monument's going to be. We know that it has to be content neutral. We know all of this stuff. What we don't know is what we define as being temporary, and what approvals you have to get for a temporary sign. What does not need to have approval for a temporary sign.
So
You will have two classifications of signs, temporary and permanent, basically. And so your permanent would be like monument sign, that's not going anywhere. And your temporary would be like your sidewalk signs. And so, there'd be subcategories within those two classifications, but essentially everything's either going to be temporary or permanent. And it should be addressed in your zoning ordinance.
And we can, if we do it smartly, we can define time limits
Yes.
on
Yeah.
temporary signs. And we, just like we can do size and everything else.
Right. You can no longer say you must take your political signs out 10 days after the election. You can't say that anymore. But you can say temporary signs can only remain for X amount of time, wherever.
Until whatever the event or whatever you're talking about is passed, or you can't do that because that's content.
Right. Because then you'd have to read it to understand that relates to this church's bazaar, which is actually what that case was about. So
I know we don't want to have the discussion now, but I think that's an excellent example where you say, you define how long a temporary sign could be there. A house for sale, 9 months? I don't know, might be on the market for 9 months. A political sign, leave it up for 9 months if that's the, you know, I think we should at least understand what this, you know, if we can't have subcategories, what we need to at least understand is what controls we're giving up.
Well,
So-
Sri, what other communities have already done this? So you already have language from another community where the temporary sign is limited on the time frame. What have you done before?
So if it's a small sidewalk sign, we can say if it's a sign is less than 3 square feet, 2 square feet, they don't need a permit because it's a sidewalk sign removable. But if it's any larger sign, they would have to apply for a temporary sign permit. And then the sign permit says no longer than 3 months, and then they can apply for extensions. That way we can keep track of how long they've been having that sign on site and if the reason still applies. Because when you apply for a temporary permit, you cite the reason on the application. So you're reading the reason on the application, not on the sign. So you
Especially in
could,
a larger development such as a PUD, where internal to the site, there may be other directional and monumental type signs within the site. Those all become permanent signs.
so the directional signs, typically the way the sign is defined generally is that if it's visible from public right away, then it is subject to sign ordinance. But if they have a sign internal to the site and it's not visible from public right away, they're not bound by the sign standards.
Okay.
We could say the directional signage internal to site does not require a permit, but we could put a size limit to it, and then we can look at the locations as part of the plan review, like a drive-through signage. If they wanted to install signage saying exit here, we could review the location and number of signs as part of the site plan review, but not as a sign permit, because they all may not be visible from the public right-of-ways. I think I got enough information so we can get something with the language and schedule the public hearing at the same time with regards to
So
signage.
do we need a motion to schedule the public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want
Let's
to
just
do
do-
it in August though? Or
Gonna say, yeah, if it's next month, it's going to be,
it's a big one
fine.
and you need enough
It's a big
time ahead of time. So I would make it your August meeting.
But we don't need a motion to follow up on our discussion. You understand, Sri, where we're headed?
do we
Okay,
need to schedule a specific date or it should, or,
For a
Well, we've
public
said-
hearing.
I think that the planning commission is talking about having, and correct us if this should not happen this way. They were talking about having the first meeting, which is the second Thursday, all ordinance conversation and public hearings.
right?
So if you're talking about doing that for August, then that would be the August 12th date. And we would need to have the information for the public hearing notices by July 22nd
That's doable.
for public notification.
So what we've said in the past is not definitely assign a date to it, or is that what I'm going to ask is that we ask for a public hearing at our next most convenient date. So that
Since-
gives the office time to do whatever they have to do. Doesn't commit us to the date, even though the best laid plans is to do it. What happens if something goes wrong? So we've in the past said, I'd move to request a public hearing at the next convenient date.
That sounds good. Off the record, we will work towards August 12th,
Right.
but yes.
That sounds good. If something
so
goes
is that-
wrong, then with it.
So is that your motion?
Yes,
Okay, can I have a second?
Second,
Okay, thank you, Neil. Roll call. Do I need a roll call? Jennifer, you said we have to do roll calls for everything. Is this a roll call? Yes. Okay. Wendy, please roll call.
Mazzara,
yes,
Kashkarian,
Yes,
Davis,
Yes,
DeVry,
yes,
Grishka,
Yes.
Mallon,
Yes,
Gilo,
Yes.
Laka is absent, and I don't think I called McGrow on attendance, and he is absent.
Okay,
So the motion passed.
okay, thank you. Okay, good work. Next is confirm plan of ordinance amendments. Shri, is that you?
So I just saw that item on the agenda. I wasn't sure if I was expected to bring a calendar or anything, but I thought
No.
maybe it's something you guys wanted to give us some direction.
No, I mean, I feel like we already, I don't know, didn't we already say what we wanted to do next?
That's what I figured. So that's why I was a little confused by the item on the agenda as what was expected.
Wendy?
So in conversation, Shri, you had questions and answers on that you were looking for to support those ordinance revisions. And this was going to be your time for communication with the Planning Commission if you had questions on, I can't remember what they were, but it was basically the similar use or any of the ordinances that you were bringing, you thought you might need guidance.
Not on those two specific ones, but
On the M2 outdoor storage maybe, or the RV setback one? Is that
they
what
are
you're talking
coming,
about?
they are scheduled for, they're on the agenda for the next meeting, so we can
Right.
talk. I don't have, I can't remember anything right now, but
That's fine.
I know at the last meeting, we decided that we're just gonna take the whole priority matrix to the board. So maybe
Yeah.
we should probably work towards that, get their blessing on the entire
Yes,
matrix.
yes. And then,
It's in their packet for this meeting coming up.
Oh, it is? Okay.
and then we can just go.
Yes.
Okay,
Sky's the limit.
anything else on, anyone have any questions on anything we've talked about so far? Okay, all right, so the next order of business is to adopt the revised meeting schedule for 2021. And you'll see that, that in our packet, we have what will be done by Holly. Yes, thank you, Wendy. So like Wendy said, and we wanted to make sure that our first meeting of the month, which is the second Thursday of the month, is ordinance review. And then the last Thursday of the month is for all of our site plans. That was the purpose of having 2 meetings a month, just so that things don't get lost. Because we've got, if you can look on our agenda, we have several future considerations coming. Does anyone have any questions? Because these now won't be special meetings anymore.
Schedule.
They will be regular, they'll be our meetings.
Okay.
Julie, could you just clarify their 7:30 start dates?
Yes, so we're not gonna do this, sometimes it's 7 o'clock and sometimes it's 7:30. It's always gonna be 7:30.
Good. Okay.
Wendy, is that okay?
That's good.
Sounds
I just
good.
did not know that. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, so we talked about it in the office recently, and it's just too confusing to do different start times. So it's always going to be 7:30. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay,
I'm good.
so that's good.
Just a little clarification on the text amendment planning commission meetings.
Mhm.
We do have, we did schedule 2 public hearings to discuss 2 text amendments at the next meeting.
Yeah, okay,
So maybe moving forward, just we did that because we didn't have many site plans on the agenda. So we thought probably because we don't have site plans to discuss a lot, maybe we can use the time to discuss text amendments. So there might be one off here or there if we don't have any site plans.
that's fine, totally fine, except for that this next coming meeting is going to just be prepared. Bring your coffee, it might be long.
Yes.
So,
And it's going to be
okay,
the last in-person Zoom meeting too, right? The next one?
yes. Yes, and then we're in person in July, starting in July,
Oh,
correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
July 1st.
yes. Thank goodness. Can't wait to see you all. Okay, Bill, did you have anything else to that?
No, that's it. I think that's all we discussed.
Okay, all right. We need a motion to approve our meeting dates.
I so move.
You will move. Thank you, Neil.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, roll call, please.
Absolutely. So DeVries,
Approve.
Davis,
approve.
Kashkarian,
Yes.
Mizera,
Yes.
Malin,
Yes.
Gilo.
Approve.
Thank you.
Can
You
I ask
didn't
a
call
question?
me. You
Does
didn't
that-
ask me, Wendy.
oh,
I'm sorry.
That's
Rishka.
okay. Yes,
Is the July 8th meeting also in-house?
yes.
They are all, okay, beginning July, all in-house.
Just if you can't make it any of the meetings, just let Wendy know. That'll just be helpful.
Can I ask a question regarding that? Just now when we go into the back into public meetings? What, a lot of our stuff, as we've been seeing, has been coming on computers like tonight where I was looking at, laptops as we're doing this. What's in the normal meeting? Do we have laptops in front of us to have, or are we going to just look at the projected information?
Yeah, it'll just
Plus
be
our
like it
packages
used
that
to
we
be.
carry.
Right. We'll get back to talking about that in just a minute.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay, so planning consultants remarks.
I think I don't have anything to add than what I already talked about.
Okay. Okay, planning commissioners remarks. So anyone want to answer Jim's question about Bill? I mean, Jim, you went to a couple meetings before you were there. It's kind of what it's like. We get a packet and then there's presentations and yeah, no computers.
All right.
So-
so
Unless
now-
someone brings a presentation and then it's projected onto the board.
Okay, so we'll get packets for everything, and then anything else will be projected on the board. We won't need a computer to look up and follow with anything.
We haven't in the past, Jennifer.
So in other words, everything that
Well-
Sri has been showing us is going to be projected on the screen.
I don't know what the administrative discussion has been about the
Yeah.
laptops that were purchased, but it's possible that the laptops could just be sitting at the board table for every meeting, for all your planning commission meetings, your ZBA meetings, your township board meetings. And if you want to look at the materials electronically, I don't know what that administrative discussion is, but you do have the laptops now where you didn't before.
Right.
So
It's just that the public won't be able to see the laptops, will they?
No, that's why
No,
sometimes it's
But if,
projected on
I'm
screen.
saying they scan the packet and put it online. So if the
Right.
packet's online and you are more comfortable having an electronic device in front of you to look at the information, instead of having the paper in front of you to look at the information, that may be possible because now you have all these laptops. But
Okay.
that information is online for the public already.
Okay.
It'd be no different than right now because the public isn't seeing your packet right now either.
Right. It's just that when we're virtually, the public sees when Sri does her screen sharing. So that's not something that they'll see if she's screen sharing where we all can see it and no one else can.
She'd
That-
have to
that's not
screen
what we're-
share onto the laptops and the whiteboard and
And the
the
whiteboard.
board in the boardroom, which she probably can do.
I think the individual laptops would be if you wanted to do any research while I'm talking about it, like if you want to look at a Google map or if you wanted to search for a word in the packet rather than, go through the big pile of papers. So
Right.
the laptops would be for your personal use, but
And that'll just depend on what the township decides we get to do
Right.
with these.
So
Okay,
I have a question in regards to the review of documents, large documents on 11 by 14-inch screen. So that becomes difficult. So are we going to start accepting submissions electronically opposed to making people print 12 copies?
No. Because we
And-
haven't got the ability to reproduce them at the township, and they send some to
So-
the consultants, but not for board members, for distribution.
So the board members will still get full-size drawings, but all of the other attached 8.5 by 11 documents could be electronic. It's not easy to copy big down. You need sophisticated equipment to do that. So before you say that we could just capture all the electronics and put it onto a laptop, you may not have the capacity on these laptops to open these drawings.
No, I'm
Yeah,
talking
no.
about the agenda packet. Like we do
Pardon?
now, it's scanned, it's online, your packet is online. So, that's how you would look at it.
Going forward, the drawings, the large scale drawings, take for instance, Kensington, those were not online.
Correct.
So those will still be sent to us. Tim, if I'm understanding, those will still be sent to us in terms of large scale format.
Yeah, you'll always get a paper copy.
Okay,
Under your ordinances, they're required to submit paper applications. You just, because of the age we're in, get everything electronically as well.
okay.
there's other agencies that take everything electronically.
Yes,
Most other agencies do.
a lot of them.
we review plans electronically too, because it's easy to measure, add notes.
Okay, any other planning commissioners' remarks? No? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
The move,
Okay. A vote? Say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that was easy. Get ready for the next one.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Aye.